Hello, everyone. I am going to show today how, if you are a manager, and this can apply to some specialists too, just if you're interested, but how you can find the follow-up reports in ENDMS. So managers, each month you get two different emails from myself and Beth. You get the initial follow-up report and the final follow-up report, both with data or both that would look very similar to this. So with our goals, your current percentages for either a specific program or all of your programs, and then the percent to goal. So what I'm going to do is show you where you can get this report on ENDMS if you're interested in running those reports for specific programs and so on. So what you'll do is you'll log in and you will go to Review Reports and you will select Follow-up Report Senior Only. So now you can really decide who you want to run the report for. So for example, if I was a manager in Connexus and I wanted to see what all of our out-of-school follow-up data, well actually we'll say multi-year because we only have one out-of-school program. I wanted to see what all of our multi-year data looked like together for all of our Connexus programs. I would just select those two things. And then I would come down and select active year. So these students were active last year. And this is the part that gets a little bit confusing with the reports. Beth and I send these out monthly. So you have to remember, like for April, we could see what Connexus has done so far for April as from April 1st to today. But since there's only been a few days, let's see what they did for March 1st through March 31st. And then this is if you would like to look into the report a little bit more, but the reports that we run, this is the only information that we put in. So then you click View and it starts to run over here. The nice thing about ENDMS is that you can run multiple reports at a time. So while that's running, if I wanted to then look at our out-of-school follow-up, I can do that. The difference with out-of-school and in-school is that for out-of-school follow-up, you're going to select their active year as this year. You can leave the date range as the same, and then I'll click View, and it will run over here. One other way that you could run this report is you could select the specific school that you want to look at. So if at Connexus I wanted to specifically look at Benton Harbor High School, I would select that right there. I would come down here because it's multi-year, I would pick that, active last year, leave the date range the same, and select View. So those are some different ways you can run the report. You could even, if you wanted, select more than one school here. So I could select, for example, Benton Harbor, and then by clicking the control button, I could select Dowagiac. So now I have two schools selected together, and I could run the report to see what those look like. So all kinds of ways that you can run that report. So let's actually take a look at what the multi-year report looked like for March for Connexus. So this is where Beth and I get the information that we send to you each month. We have the total participant count at the top with the percentage of graduates, any non-graduates. Now this is, any of this information, so even if this graduate has a job placement, it is not going to contribute to the overall percentages. So the 5 of 5 goals that we look at come from these bolded sections. We tell you job placements, so that's right here, and the goals for each type of program are different. So the goal for multi-year is 60%, And as you can see that they're about 6% off from achieving that goal for our Connexus multi-year programs. Total positive outcomes is our second big data point. So we have an 80% goal for that for multi-year programs, and they're about 8% off, or sorry, 8% over, because they have achieved 88% here. The non-positive outcomes, the big section here that we tend to struggle with is our unable to contact rate. So I explained in the previous video, which is how to enter follow-up contacts, that if during that March 1st to March 31st period, no contact, follow-up contact was entered in the system, it defaults to unable to contact. So our goal is less than 5%, which they are achieving right now. Some students are available but unemployed, and some students are unavailable for employment per JAG standard. This would be if a student is hospitalized or incarcerated usually. So it's very important that every month between the first of the month and the last day of the month, some form of follow-up contact is being put into the ENDMS system so that this unable to contact rate decreases. For total full-time jobs, the goal for multi-year is 60%. They're at about 76 for right now, so they've achieved that goal. And full-time placements, they have almost 100% of full-time placements. This is a little bit confusing because the denominator here is of employed graduates. So basically what they're saying is, of the people who are employed, so of these students, how many of them are either in a full-time job with no school, a full-time job with school, a military service, or a part-time work with school. So 100% of the employed graduates have a full-time placement. It's kind of a confusing number. And then further education rate, so basically have they gone on to some form of post-graduation education and they have achieved, so our goal for that for multi-year, it's different for out of school. Let me pull that up really quickly. Our goal for multi-year is 40%, so they have achieved that goal as well. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing. If you are running an out-of-school report or an alternative report, the standards are not going to necessarily be reflective of our goals as a JMG program. So for example, you can see that the standard here for this out-of-school report says 90% for the graduation rate. However, we have a graduation rate goal of 50% for our out-of-school programs. Similar with further education rate, that is not indicated on this document, but alternative programs, you'll also see some differences with the standards and deviations here. So that is why Beth and I send this information to you in a chart like this, because while these reports are very useful for you to run, JAG's system only inputs the multi-year standards and deviations right here. They do not change it for the out-of-school or alternative programs. So keep that in mind if you are a manager who is looking at data for non-multi-year programs. And so then Beth and I simply compile this report and send it off to you. Some of you who get, so for example, this Connexus report, this has a total of, I believe, 5 programs coming into it. So what Mindy could then do, Mindy is our Connexus manager, she can then go and run a Benton Harbor High School report to see how that specific school is performing. So that is something that you as a manager can take the steps to do once this report is sent to you or once you have ran it. So that is just a little bit of an overview for you managers on the follow-up status report.